na paligid, mabuting kalooban. Gopalakas, hangad na maglingkod sa kapwa't kaibigan. Gopalakas, alagaan natin si Inang Kalikasan. Halika na totoo sa kalikasan at kapwa-tao. Isa buhay natin ito. Gopala, Gopala. Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas.
Alright, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, sa lahat ng mga sumusubaybay ng ating programa. Maraming salamat sa mga early birds. I'd like to say good morning to Kesh Pasqua, who is already logged in, and also to Kalindi Relova. Good morning sa inyong dalawa. Alright, so ako po ang inyong lingkod ngayong Sabado. And just like all other Saturdays, we have for you another insightful topic, okay, for the week. And this will be focused on leaders and followers. So today's discussion, okay, with our wise trio, all right, actually centers around these two very important roles in society. Leaders are not just limited to those, sitting in higher office or in the government, but also refers to anyone whose duty is to mold, uplift, all right, nurture the character, okay, of all of society, of all of us. And this could be our teachers also, our mentors, our bosses or our employers, and also, of course, the very foundation, the very start, okay, where everything is built in the family, our parents. So I'd also like to say hi to those who have just tuned in. Ruben Lontok, who says, good morning, Gopalakas. Magandang umaga rin sa iyo, Ruben. Okay, so without further ado, we'll go on and we'll go on and listen to, all right, Tito Toby, Tita Marisa, and Tita Socorro in Living Wise.
Pleasant morning sa ating lahat. Good morning again.
Good morning. Good day to everybody,
Yeah,
wherever
good day.
you are in the world.
Good day or night, wherever you are.
Siyempre, usahin natin batiin ang ating mga nanonood. Ito ay ang ating forever loyal, si
Kalindi. Kalindi
Relova, di ba?
Tsaka nandyan sina Angel, sina Mike, sina Liza, sina Muriel, sina Mary, tsaka si Ananda, Rosalinda, yes.
Good morning to everybody.
Maybe we just need to let them know for now we're doing a filmed segment.
We filmed this segment because there won't be any electricity in La Union this weekend. So we went ahead and did the taping so that, you don't, at least we do what we need to do to keep us going, right?
Yeah, right.
I know many people
Show
are
must
waiting.
go on.
Yes, that's the idea.
Oh.
But anyway, for this, the topic for this weekend has to do with leadership and followers, In the world that we live in today, nakikita natin na
Ang gulo.
it's so hard to find a leadership that, we know that has the qualities, qualification, but we also sometimes situations come up where we always tend to look at people who are just famous and well-known or has a good family name. Yung mga ganun ba na may records na may nagawa in the past and we ride on that. But alam nyo, the qualities of leaders is not just merely because of birth.
Yeah, or wealth.
Or wealth or popularity, You may be very famous and wealthy and even the looks, Yung mga ganyan eh.
Kasi hindi ba minsan nagtutrending yung mga artista,
Right. But yet-
politika, ganon.
But yet we find that many of their lives are not very exemplary, you know, and that it is more self-serving. Okay, a true leader is described as that leader who oversees and who actually sees and understands the needs of everybody else. He treats everybody as a member of his family, not just a mere member of a village. Or kumbaga, no, he's very
Hindi lang sila botante.
right.
Oo, they're actually our the real leader serves them. Yeah.
The constituents.
The constituents.
Yeah, the responsibility, they feel that responsibility, you know, and that what they always feel is for the betterment and the welfare of everybody else.
Yes.
So kung ganito ang vision ng isang liderato, basically, he has a higher vision on how he would serve his people.
Yun ang masarap na leader, no? Kahit kailan gusto mong iboto.
And it's all about uplifting their consciousness. Many times you always think as a leader, we just need to provide the basic things. But, you know, if we look at it in the bigger picture, many of what is in the world is actually provided for. You know, it's already there. The leadership can just use and be able to manage and use these resources responsibly and always forward looking, and that his vision of things is not just based on the time he will spend as a leader, but many years later.
Oo, he leaves a legacy.
Yeah.
That's good for everybody.
Oo.
Oo.
So there's a quote from the ancient scripture or the Bhagavad Gita: whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
Tama yun eh. Totoong-totoo
Ang
yan.
laking responsibility talaga kung leader ka. Eh kung mali kang example sinet mo, patay.
Yeah.
Di ba kasi sabihin nila minsan, pag masama yung nakita nila sa isang leader, sabi nila, bakit si ganito? Ganyan ang ginagawa. Di kami rin pwede namin gawin, hindi ba? Pero pag maganda yung ginawang example, yan tutularan, kumbaga nagiging inspiration yan para sa ibang
Yeah,
tao.
you lead by example nga. That's the
Yes.
key.
So your
You
example
practice,
has to be good.
yeah, you practice what you
Oo.
preach. Kumbaga, ano the saying goes, you know. So if you expect your followers to, or the people you influence or you are responsible for, definitely it begins with you.
Yes.
Yes.
So actually sabihin natin yung leadership na yan, hindi lang naman leader of a nation. Pwede rin, kunyari yung parent is also a leader.
Yes.
So
Yes.
In a household.
same, yung example ng parent would be something for children to learn from, and also maybe the teachers are also someone that
Yes.
tinitingala ng
In
mga
fact, yung
educators.
example natin, yun ang
Oo.
talagang nafa-follow ng bata eh, no?
Yes, because you're responsible for molding the members of your family. And then from there, you have to also understand that the very stability of the unit in a society begins the integrity and the stability of every family in a village or in a town. Yung stability nila, right, determines the success
Of everyone.
of everyone.
Oo.
Kasi nga, di ba, pag village, meron silang tinatawag yan, o mga uncle, auntie nila yan, yung mga parang,
The
they are
elders.
the elders.
Oo.
O may council of elders nga, yung
Yes,
ibang
oo.
mga tribal groups, they really listen to the wisdom given by the elders, and they see the example also of the elders to learn from, di ba? And it's passed on from generation to
Yes.
generation.
Oo, talagang
Diba?
That's
Parang-
why
pina-follow talaga.
that's why
Oo.
such information, the integrity of the village and the very stability of the people is not just merely changing based on time and place. They would always look back to factors made or decisions made or factors that has influenced the society and that has molded their village for a duration of
Yeah,
time.
the traditions,
Yun
they
ang
hold their
tradition.
traditions
Culture
and
nila.
culture, very
Yan na
dear.
yung ano nila, parang legacy
Kaya
na
nga,
passed on.
di ba, may mga tinatawag na yung isang lineage is so important, you know, and that the lineage is able to stay intact, and that the legacy continues. You know, a legacy that makes it so that a whole society or a village or a family gets stronger
Oo.
in time.
Oo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if a father, for example, is a very generous man, very helpful man, then the sons and daughters also learn to be this way.
Those qualities will be
Yes.
there because it's being ingrained that from the time they're a child, being raised in a, you know, as a child in such a family, that integrity is always there. The
Yeah.
loyalty would always be there.
Just like yesterday, we were talking to a friend of ours who is a very successful businessman, no? And he was talking about how he's taking care of those who are under him. And he said, you know, when I was growing up, I saw my father. Everybody in town will come to him for help. From the most influential person to the most poor person. And he said, and he never turned anybody away. Sabi niya, so this is what I grew up with and this is what I learned to do also. Even to this day, he's trying to follow his father's footsteps. Which is a very nice example,
Yes,
no?
oo.
Of a way
Yan
to
ang talagang
live.
effective leadership. No?
Yes,
And we should
oo.
not always be thinking that you have to be special,
Oo.
you know, to be a leader.
Yeah, just like
Or-
kanina I saw a verse, no, it was saying, for those noble souls in whose hearts arise the thoughts of helping others, there is no adversity and sorrow. Prosperity and happiness embrace them at every step. Because, you know, when you do some good to others, that same good comes back to you. You give people help, you make them happy, and you also become happy.
And it brings you to a point where, you know, the way you live your life, it makes it so you make the world a better place wherever you are.
Really, oh.
That's
nice.
it. That's the key. Again, I always refer to this as human beings. Yeah, we are given this intelligence and this ability to be able to be sensitive to those even in the lower species of life. What to speak of the same, you know, race as human beings. But right now, we always find that there are divides in races: black, yellow, white, may ganyan, ano.
Oo.
When such setting comes to play, it all has to do with lack of understanding of our true nature.
Correct. Yes.
And the leadership, a leader should be the first to make sure that such division doesn't occur. Because at the end of the day, we are common people of the same race.
We're brothers, hindi
Right.
ba? Brothers, all relatives, having the same common identity,
Yes.
being a spiritual life,
nature.
living force, you know. So, magkakapatid tayong lahat. And the true leader shows respect to everybody, you know.
That reminds me of Saint Francis, di ba? May brother, son, and sister moon. He had respect for all living entities.
Pati yung mga
even.
animals,
Yes,
hindi ba?
yes.
Very nice. He's remembered for that. So basically speaking, yung true leader is actually one with a vision, di ba, of the truth. Meron siyang wisdom. Kaya naman siya nakaka-act in very, kumbaga maganda yung behavior and actions niya dahil nga meron din siyang clear vision of the truth. And he's of course very doing what he is understanding.
Yeah, not just a vision, but he lives the truth.
Yes, he
Oo.
embodies that
Yeah.
vision.
Right.
See.
Oo. Okay.
And such a person will, again, bring about upliftment of a real true standards of living in our society. It's not just based on whether you're wealthy. It is, and their standards is based on something that is more beyond the wealth, but the very integrity of the human being
Oo.
or a true spirit soul. You know, based on the true nature of a spirit soul is that by nature we have the ability, we have the intelligence, we talino tayo. You know, we have that ability to understand true knowledge and receive that. And then we are basically happy when we understand this true nature. And then definitely we feel that we are not just limited by just one life. The tendency that we always tend to look at life is pag ako'y pinanganak dito, anong gawin ko in between until the time I have to leave my body? You know, we don't know what happens kasi many times we are born in this world, we learn to live our life from the very beginning, tinuturoan tayo, we're educated to live our life in this world, but never to leave. Iiwanan natin yung mundo na to. What do we do about that? Many times we don't do anything about it until
Yes.
it's too late. You know?
Yes. It becomes as a shock, comes as a shock to
Yeah.
Or
people.
sometimes we're just waiting for things to happen to us. We don't realize that we can actually lay down the tracks.
Yeah,
Oo.
we
Where
take
we
the
wanna
steps.
go.
Yeah.
Di
Yeah.
ba? We
That's
can
why
actually plan
we
that.
could-
Pero quote
with-
na yun hindi ba? There's three kinds of people. One who does
Yeah.
something, makes things happen.
makes things happen.
Oo.
Another person is the one who watches things happen.
Oo.
And saka yung pangatlo, the third person is yung, what happened? Ganun nangyayari, nagtatanong. Kumbaga,
What
nalampasan
happened?
siya ng mga dapat ng mga pangyayari.
Huli sa balita.
Nahuhuli sa balita. Yun ang, pag tayo dapat parang ganun. Kadalasan ng liderato, he makes things happen.
Yes.
And he sees to it that the constituents or the people or the member of the family is being given all the information they need. And
Kailangan kasali tayo sa
Oo.
happening. Hindi yung tagapanood lang tayo.
tsaka alam nyo, ang liderato na yun talagang mapakaumbaba, humble, and willing to actually really provide service to fellow men. Or you don't have to be a leader of the town, or you can just be an ordinary person at home. Or you can be the supervisor or the foreman, of a construction site. May mga ganyan yan eh. Huwag nating isipin na kailangan yan, ang dating mo, educated ka. Alam mo, minsan may makikilala ka.
Meron ka daw PhD at saka master's
Oo.
degree.
For example, dito sa aking,
Everyone
I
is
have
right.
workers now, in the farm, we're fixing a fence. May makikita kayong isang, he just started working with us recently only, in the past six weeks, I believe. And, this person, makikita mo, he's got a very nice disposition.
Mabait siya.
Mabait. But at the same time, he's gifted with this,
Green. Hindi lang thumb. Lahat yata ng fingers niya green.
tapos,
Magaling magtanim.
nurturing siya. Pagdating sa working environment niya, I said, ikaw ang magiging foreman, ha? Kasi kagandahan nun. Ang ganda ng disposition niya. And he takes his responsibility seriously. Kunyari, magaling siya magtanim, pero he's also a mason. So you will see this person, yung work niya, napakalinis. He goes out of his way to do a good job.
Yes, very nice.
Ang ganda ng qualities. And then these are the type of people that you wow, this person can go a long way.
Yes.
And when you give him the chance to show his potential, not just in his work, but also working with his fellow man. You can find
people
that.
like to work with him.
Yes, maganda yung disposition nila.
Team worker.
Oh,
Yes. But this reminds me of my verse naman na the fragrance of flowers spreads only in the direction of the wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. Kaya it's really nice to instill or grow this kind of goodness in our hearts,
Yeah.
no? Kasi it spreads kumakalat talaga.
Parang mo na pipick up mo. Just like when you walk in a garden, pick up mo, may mabango. Ngayon, pag meron ka naka-meet na tao na maganda talaga yung dinidescribe, maganda yung character niya, mapipick up mo, mabait siya, masipag din siya,
Yes.
responsible din siya.
Yes,
So,
and that spreads to others. They will find, you know how they say your reputation comes before you, di ba?
yes. Oo.
Na nalalaman din ng ibang tao. Ang
Oo.
bait ng tao na yun.
Oo. Yes. So basically speaking, yan ay nakakatulong sa lahat ng mga nakikilala nila, nami-meet nila sa buhay. You know?
Tsaka masarap siyang tularan.
Oo.
And for me, kung ganyan yung tao, you become so kampante ka sa work ng tao na hindi mo niisip baka, kailangan ko bantayan to palagi kung ano mga ginagawa. Hindi mo iniisip na yun.
Alulukohin ka or something,
So ngayon,
di ba?
alam mo, immediately, because he used to work for us many years ago, hindi pa siya marunong magtrabaho na, he was just a laborer. Eh ngayon, natutunan siya maging foreman siya na mason. Magaling na, galing magtrabaho. Sabi ko siguro, dahil mabait itong tao na to, ang daming nakagusto sa kanya.
Oo.
So ang dami niyang napuntahan ng mga lugar, nakagain siya ng experience in such short given time, and then natuto siya ng gusto. So kumbaga na in demand.
Oo. At
Yun
saka
na.
pagka mabuti kang tao, nagiging example ka talaga, sabihin ng tao, ba't hindi mo, tignan mo si ganito, ang galing niya. Di ba? You become exemplary.
So kadalag ngayon, so sabi ko, siya yung binibilinan ko. Supposed to
Nagiging
be,
leader ngayon
he's the
siya.
mason eh. Pero dahil nakita ko na when I had him, I knew his dad eh. And his dad used to work for us in the farm, planting vegetables and rice. In the early years when we moved to the farm. But ngayon, sabi ko sa kanya, papa mo, ganito kagaling magtanim ah. Nakuha mo ba yung abilidad? Na ganyan. Oo nga sir, sabi niya, maraming nagsasabi sa akin. Lahat ng itanim ko, halos nabubuhay. So this last six weeks ago, I told him, okay, mag-take charge ka nga sa farm. Alam mo, within 6 weeks, ang dami ng mga gulay. Tapos, natumutubo yung ampalaya, biglang, sir, ano yun ang insekto yan, lagyan na lang natin ng jari, balutin natin. Yung mga ganun ba? Kasi yung talagang little details take place. Yun ang gusto natin. Yun ang nag-nurture.
Yes.
So maganda yung disposition ng tao. So this fellow is a very simple person. Simple lang siyang tao. If you are asking about whether he's an educated person, sabi niya sa akin, natapos niya lang parang second year high school. Kasi poverty, they had to work, marami sila magkapatid. So these are, again, see, in such a simple setting, a person can be very exemplary in his ways.
He shows qualities of leaders talaga.
So we acknowledge the leaders wherever, what situation they are, where they are doing their best, to be of service to other people, to be of service to God and to others, and they are actually showing this kind of qualities that are very admirable, parang very inspiring.
Yeah. And plus seeing them, that they act
Nakakatuwa,
responsibly.
Yes.
Yun ang kagandahan nun.
Yes.
So because their actions are that of actions of a responsible individual. And it's so appreciated. Kaya ako, sabi nga niya, sabi ko, sa pandemya, kasi dalawang anak niya, sino tuturo sa anak niyo? Saan sila nag-aaral? Sabi niya, yung wife ko lang. Nanonosebleed nga sir dahil mahirap magturo alam niya. Pero ginagawa nila. So ngayon, sabi ko, yung bahay niyo ba, saan sila nag-aaral? Gumano. Tapos nasabi niya na, sir, sa bahay, minsan kailangan namin mga kapitbahay dahil wala kaming kuryente sa bahay namin. Kumbaga na wala siyang ilaw. Walang elektrisidad yung bahay niya.
Walang connection.
Hindi lang walang internet, wala pang ilaw.
Wala pang ilaw. So sinabi ko nung pamasko ko sa kanya, sige ito, binigyan ko siya ng I gave him some money.
Sila.
I-process yun na, magpakabit na kayo ng kuryente. Kahit may isang outlet, may 2 bombilya, ayos na yan. Basta yung mga anak nyo, nakakapag-aral. Yung mga ganun kasing tao, yung parang, tulungan mo talaga to Alam mo. Hindi ka, kahit na sino naman kung talagang nakikita mo na you're dealing with them and meron silang pagkukulang man, tulungan mo. Meron nga yan, may kasama yan 3 sila. May isa siyang kasama. Yun, notorious doon sa aming village na yung pag nakainom, talagang nagwawala. Yung gano'n. Kahit yung, anyway, never mind the incidents. Pero, what happened was, this fellow, no matter how much you try to help the fellow, I was trying to help him. I said, okay, magkaroon ka ng regular na trabaho, matuto ka rito, yung ganun eh. Bata pa eh. But yet, because may galit naman siya.
Minsan may bad habits na
Bad
sila,
habits, may galit.
bad attitude.
Minsan sabi mo, oh, pag may trabaho ha, basta weekday ha, huwag kayo iinom. Yung mga ganun ba? Kasi baka pag nag-work kayo sa kinabukasan, wala kayo sa kondisyon,
Madisgrasya pa.
kayo.
Oo.
Or your work productivity is also affected.
And their health, no? We,
You know.
we
Yes.
warn them about
Yeah, you
that.
educate them. Anybody who comes under your, responsibility, it's always best to see and get to really know them.
Yes.
Para matulungan.
Yeah.
Let me share naman, no? Meron lang akong i-share na kwento, isang little video na nilabas ng Dare to Do motivation, no? And this is actually a story of a very, well, he's not very well, I think he's well known.
He is
Okay,
well known.
he's well known.
Yes.
Okay, so let's watch this story, which came from YouTube. Okay.
In 1888, there was a famous scientist who made so many discoveries and made a fortune from his inventions. One day he was reading his local morning newspaper, and to his surprise, he found his name in the obituary column. The newspaper had reported the death of him by mistake, believing he had passed away, when in reality, his brother had passed away a day before. What he read in the newspaper horrified him. They titled him as the Merchant of Death. They also described him as a man who had made it possible to kill more people more quickly than anyone else who had ever lived. They criticized his invention of dynamite. There wasn't anything good written about him. That news hit him hard. In that moment, he quickly realized two things. One, that this was how people were going to remember him. And two, that this wasn't the way he wanted to be remembered. From that day on, he started working towards peace. He left most of his wealth in a trust that would be used to establish the awards after his name, Alfred Nobel. And that is how the Nobel Prize was created, as an award for people who make outstanding achievements to mankind in subjects that always interested Alfred Nobel: physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace. Today, everyone is familiar with the Nobel Prize. While relatively few people know how Alfred Nobel made his fortune, it was through the invention of dynamite. And nobody knew that a simple newspaper incident changed his life. Alfred Nobel had an opportunity granted to him that very few people have: to read his obituary while alive. Thinking about how one's obituary is going to read can motivate us to rethink and reflect on our life and how we are currently spending our life. The one thing that we can learn from this story is that the good we do lives after us. For most of us, this is the most important thing that we ever leave behind. The reality of death can be our greatest motivator if we let it. It can help us refocus on our visions and remember why we do what we do. Once you understand what death means in all of its darkness, you will understand life. You will see death not as a problem, but a fact. And that fact will change the way you see everything going forward. The only way to deal with the reality of death is to go out there and live the best life you can, while you can. Use your life to do something that gives you meaning, and then you'll no longer see death as a problem when it comes upon you. There is a famous saying: life is a book of 3 pages. The first page is birth, the last page is death, and the center page is empty. It is up to you how beautiful you make that page to read. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.
Okay, so yung napalabas yan na natin na stories about Alfred Nobel, and makikita po natin na he was just so very focused lang on building his business, which was nakita naman ng mga ibang tao ay negative yung business mo, maraming namamatay. Although at that time they were using the dynamites also kasi for mining,
Oo nga.
to blast the tunnels and everything,
Which was destructive as well.
And so basically speaking, yun nga yung incident na yon, nung nakita niya yung obituary niya, nakita niya, doon siya na gising na oops, marami palang hindi magandang pagkakilala sa akin, no? And that was a wake-up call. And it's very nice na in-explain dun sa ating video that when you are reminded about death and you're reminded about your departure from this world, you have to reflect that ano ba ginagawa ko sa buhay ko at the moment, and will this be helpful and beneficial sa ibang tao? Hindi ba? So basically speaking, kasi ibang tao ayaw nilang pag-usapan ng kamatayan basta death, parang ang lagim-lagim naman ng iniisip mo, hindi ba? O parang such
But it's a reality.
Yes.
That's what it really is.
Oo.
In leadership, basically, let's say we hear about people with their heroism, yung tapang,
hero with
Heroism,
yes.
yung
yeah.
heroism nila, makikita natin na they prove their bravery. But yet at the same time, you will find such people with such qualities. There's also fear in them, which puts them in a position of humbly praying for protection.
Yes. Oo,
You know.
oo.
And then this fellow Alfred Nobel, siyempre, no matter how you look at it, ginamit talaga yung kanyang na-discover to
For
destructive
not good,
means.
yeah.
Not good. It created a whole, kumbaga aspect of destruction in
Oo.
every aspect.
Oo.
Alam niyo yung mga ganyan, minsan, at least siya, kumbaga hindi siya pinatulog ng ganun na actions na na-perform niya. So he would try to remedy.
Oo.
You know
Kumbaga,
what?
natauhan siya.
Natauhan siya to, wow, when I was doing this, I wasn't acting based on wisdom and responsibility.
Oo.
You know.
Yes.
But
At
yet,
least
you have to
nahabol
understand,
niya, no?
no matter what, on the end of the day, it is you having to face the responsibility of actions you perform.
Oo.
And how do you remedy that? Kasi kumbaga malayo ang hangganan eh. There are things in life that we sometimes tend to take for granted. That actions we perform or we do, right? And we actually continue doing it in our life because we as human beings are held responsible for every action we perform.
Oo. And we forget there are repercussions
There
pa
are, yes.
Kasi,
added
Not
to
only
that.
for others, but also for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see, this is the key, because in most really highly, kumbaga, in the past, there are great saintly leaders. They understand this dynamic, so they teach their people to act responsibly.
Kaya careful sila
Yes,
lagi. Oo.
and there's a true basis. That's why yung upliftment of their way of life, their consciousness, is a key factor, because if the leader doesn't see this or doesn't make that like what guides him
Oo, may guiding principles siya.
in leadership, in leading his people, then the burden is on him. Because his people will be burdened eh.
At saka magsasuffer din yung mga tao.
Magsasuffer
hindi ba?
yung tao.
Oo.
Sino, kanino babalik yun?
Oo.
Ikaw rin na
yung
magdadala nun.
ultimately
Ay, gano'n ko yung decision na
responsible,
ginawa ko. Kaya yung kay Alfred Nobel, yun ang naisip niya. Wow. Hindi ko na mapipigil to kasi may mga tao, yung mga interest nila doon sa invention niya, iba eh.
Oo.
Hindi niya na-realize na, uy, may ganun pala to.
Oo.
Kasi yung intention niya was probably to make things, whatever his intention was. We don't know really what's in
Yeah.
him when he did it.
Yeah.
But normally, pag may ginawa kang ganyan na bagay, tapos ma-realize mo later, wow, ganun pala yung impact. Ganito pala mangyayari.
Oo.
So at least, he had to remedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to remedy and do something about it.
Actually, when yung sinasabi mo nga, when you're in a position of leadership, yung responsibility ang dala-dala mo.
Mabigat, oo.
Like for example, even taxation. Okay, I mean, as far as taxing people, pinaghihirapan yan ng tao.
Oo.
Ngayon, pag nakuha mo yung perang yun, tapos hindi mo ginamit ang maayos yan,
Oo, para sa
Karma.
kanila.
bad karmic reaction
Yeah.
ang babalik sa'yo, hindi ba? It's not like you will enjoy the money that you got. No, there's also the reactions to that. So, you cannot escape, that consequences. So, leaders are, parang akala nila kasi parang, sige, masaya ako dito kasi nanalo ako, ganun, everything, I will have a good life. But if you're not performing your responsibilities well,
Oo, your duties.
your duties well, whatever sufferings the people will go through, dala-dala mo rin yun.
It's in your back.
It's on your back.
Kasi
Talaga,
you're the, kumbaga, ikaw yung liwanag para sa maraming tao.
Oo.
Eh. Hindi, kung ang dala mo naman, your actions are not guided by wisdom
Oo.
and true knowledge and caring, then basically everything falls on your back and you cannot just wash your hands.
Yeah.
That
You cannot just behave with impunity
Yeah.
either. No?
Yung mga leaders na calling for actions that are not good for the nation, basically it's our responsibility as voters to choose the right
Like,
leaders.
for example, this morning,
Oo.
I went with the governor of this province. We went to a place, may lupa siya doon.
Oo.
And then it's a ridge. And one of the main people who actually brought the governor there many years ago and sold the land to him, he knew the place kasi mga kamag-anak niya may-ari eh.
Okay.
But they didn't realize na yung ridge na yun, ang laking ridge niya eh. Siguro close to about 300 hectares, 320 hectares na ridge forest, remaining forest ng aming probinsya. Kakaunti na lang yung ganyan eh. So as we were walking, our governor who's now very much into attune with the environment, trying to rehabilitate.
Nice. Oo, very
Sabi niya,
nice.
sinexplain ko sa kanya, kita mo may malalaki pang puno rito, iba yung pakiramdam. Tapos he was seeing Philippine eagle flying, hovering up. May tatlo pa, he was videoing
Wow.
and he was going, wow, the more I come here, the more a feeling of that responsibility that I need to really take care of this and preserve it. Tapos sinabi niyong one of the people who sold it to him, sir, sabi, nandito yung it was students from the university here, in the province, who are identifying the trees in the place. Sabi sa kanila, ito yung watershed na nagbibigay ng tubig para sa gagamitin ng mga tao. Nabanggit ko yan noon, pero sila parang, paano yun? Ang layo naman, nasa ibang bayan yung pinaka-springs. Pero nandito yung pinaka-source ng water. Ang layo, malayo. Siguro mga 7-8 kilometers yung layo. But sabi din, nakita nila, uy, tama pala sir ang sinabi niyo, yung nandito kayo huli. Kaya talagang kailangan natin pangalagaan. So, these are things, we, again, forward-looking, it is always so important, no matter what we do things, we know we're just temporarily in this world. We're not going to live here forever. So what happens when we leave is determined by what do you do before you leave.
Yes.
What's
Your present action.
Yeah.
Oo.
Kagaya nung sa story mo, I was just thinking that, imagine, a logger thinks he's just gonna cut down one tree. That parang yung action niya, isip niya, ito lang, puputulin ko isang puno. But yung repercussions noon, as far as the people living downstream or so far away, their water for their daily survival is at stake.
And
Hindi ba?
years later,
Oo.
sabi ko nga,
Generations after that.
sabi ko nga dun sa governor,
Affected
nakikita
sila.
nyo ngayon dito is a thriving secondary forest. Ito ay yung mga puno na hindi na iniwan ng mga tao kasi they're considered
Mga loggers dati.
softwood. Yung may mga ganon. And alam mo, nawala yung mga first class natitigas na kahoy. But nakita ko pa rin yung mga remnants ng mga natitira ng mga puno na yun. May mga
Buti may
magagandang puno.
natira.
Meron kami pinuntahan, may bukal, there's a spring. Nandun, laki-laki. It's a big dao tree, siguro mga 80 to 100 years old. Pakalaki. The governor was so happy to see it. May spring sa tabi ng puno. Sabi ko ngayon sa kanya, dito may kuro-kuro ang mga local. Sinabi ng one of the caretakers doon, yung farmers, Sir, may sawa nga malaki rito eh. Kami natatakot pumunta rito. May nagbabantay. Sabi ko,
Buti na lang, may bantay doon.
tapos meron din silang parang kasabihan na may nakatira dyan sa punong yan. May parang spirito. So totoo, may spirito
Totoo
talaga.
naman, kaya
Buhay yung
buhay.
puno na yun
Oo.
eh. You know? But anyway, napakaganda ng puno. Sabi ko nga ako yung nakikita ko, tuwan-tawa ako ngayon kasi tinuturo ko sa kanila, ayun ang mga anak nila. Ito yung anak niya. Ayun lahat yung nakikita mo nagkakala. So if you're in the conservation work, these are things that you go, and for me, I'm so willing to share it to the governor because I know he was so happy after the 2-hour trek namin. Now, wow, I've learned so many things today. So when I face the DNR or I face the other agencies, I will be so more equipped by the real situation.
The reality of what's
So,
on the ground.
Sa buhay natin, please, let us be learning how to act as a true leader, which begins with action that is not just mere, without proper thinking and guidance. Let us not be misguided.
And act for the benefit
For
of
the-
all.
This is the nature of a human being. We are by nature, if we render service, or we act as stewards, then we will live a happy life.
Yes.
Then our life will be purposeful. Punong-puno yan.
With meaning.
With meaning. And then, kumbaga, you learn all of this wisdom. You learn it from ancient texts. You learn from so much. And you bring this with you. You become part of that lineage and a representation of that truth. And then your life will be successful and that other people, their lives will be touched properly. Marami pong salamat sa inyong lahat, sa inyong
Thank you very
pakikinig.
much.
Sa susunod, please, huwag kayong magsasawa.
Yes. And we shall turn over back to our host, no, para lang magpaalam sa inyo at basahin yung mga inyong comments and mga greetings sa ating comment section. Thank you very
Please send up your
Thank you.
questions.
See
If you
you
have
next
any
week.
comments, we can be discussing. Sa topic na to, we can be discussing it in our next show,
Yes.
So we can share your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So maraming salamat, Tito Toby, Tita Marisa, and Tita Socorro from Living Wise, all right, for sharing your wisdom with us again today. Such an important subject matter that is applicable actually to each and every one of us, no, on what it means and what it takes to be a leader that is to be emulated, one who leads by example and who leads responsibly, a true servant leader with a purposeful life. So before we end today's show, just want to acknowledge those who are tuned in. All right. This morning, earlier, we had Henry Yumul. Hello to Karkar Abod and Adelila Satore from Cebu. Matt and Mike Resurrection all the way from Cavite. We have also Miss Rose, all right, from Iloilo. Chris Salamanca, Bo Bismarck from Laguna, the Mainigo family, and Dixie Palmos from La Union, okay? Miss Muriel Go, Cesar Canonizado, Jay Resurrection, Rene Araneta, also from Cebu, Lakbay Gulay, Ananda Teves Ngo, watching from Zambales, Miss Rosalinda Lascano, all the way from Okinawa, Japan, Miss Mary Salazar, and to Francis Go and Francis Mina. And to Miss Nene Diza Alvarez, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Good morning sa inyo. And should you all have any questions, all right, regarding today's session, you may reach out via our hotline. And also do leave us a comment if you found this discussion helpful to all of you. I wish you all a pleasant Saturday, good morning, and have a good weekend.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas. Hari Ni Tago